Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Yellow Chair Chat. I'm your host, Alex Mullins with Wyckoff Realtors, The Space Place. And I have my very special guest with me today, Kelly Holder with Wyckoff Realtors, The Space Place. Hi, Kelly. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I'd like to talk a little bit about buyers and what the buyer steps are to buying a home today.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So when I have someone call me on the phone and they say, Kelly, I'd love to go see some homes. I'm interested, buying a home in Huntsville. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask them to meet with me to do a buyer consultation. This is really important because it goes over four things that really buyers need to know before we head out. And actually, I need to know the first thing, which is let's sit down, let's talk. What are you looking for? Tell me about the type of home you're looking for, bedrooms, bathrooms, location, timeline. Are you pre-approved? All that sort of information is really important in the beginning to get to know them. The second thing I'm going to talk about is our market. What is going on in the Huntsville-Madison market? Or if they're looking even further out, Florence, Fort Payne, Coleman, I'm going to give them some information on that market. And we're going to talk about the interest rates. We're going to talk about, is it a buyer's market versus a seller's market? That's important. And we're going to talk about our inventory levels and what to expect. Are we going to expect competing in multiple offers? Are our homes sitting for months? So we go over that information. The third thing I do is I want them to know a little bit about me. How can I help you? What is my role in this whole process? And so we go over all the ways that I can help them, how I'm going to help negotiate and walk them through the process, get them to the closing table. The fourth thing we're going to do, the fourth thing we're going to do is we're going to go over some paperwork. The National Association of Realtors has made some big changes this year for all realtors nationwide. And we are required now to have a signed buyer's agency agreement before we show homes or a signed touring agreement. And so, this is why it's really important. We go over everything with our clients first, and then, we agree that we're going to work with each other, and then we can go view properties at that point.
That's good. That's very good. And so the next step would really be also setting them up with different types of lenders to get that buying power that they need, right?
Yeah, so if I have a client who says, I have not spoken with a lender, I don't have any idea about how this works, I'll get that. Or sometimes I'll just say, someone's like, I'm pre-approved, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm like, great, we can move forward. But if we've got someone who's not pre-approved, it's very important that that client understands their buying power. Interest rates are a little higher than we've seen in the, back in 2021. And so, you may be looking at homes in the 300,000 range when really with those higher interest rates, you may really qualify for something in the 250 range, or vice versa. Maybe you really qualify for something in the 400 range. So we kind of want to know, not only we want you pre-approved, we want you to know your buying power. We want you to feel comfortable with what your lender says would be the payment on that. And there was one other thing. So if you find a home that you love and you want to move forward on it, you're going to want to have that pre-approval in hand, because when we submit an offer, that is one of the first things that listing agent is going to look for is this client pre-approved to purchase this home?
Yeah. And so if a client comes in and they're not already spoken to a lender, like you were saying, they had no idea, they were actually coming to you thinking that maybe you're the lender, what would you do in that step of that process?
So we do at Wyckoff have some excellent Gold Star vendors, not only for lenders, but for anything related to moving companies, home inspectors, home warranties, you name it. We have vetted vendors that we can refer to you. So I always give, if a client says, hey, I need some suggestions for a lender, I always give them at least 3 options of people that I have worked with, and I know they're going to get it done. They have great programs for buyers, and they're going to get it done and closed on time. those clients are not in any way required to use anyone that I recommend, but there's a little bit of safety in knowing that I've worked with these people before and I trust them.
I like the fact that you also have like a multiple of all different types that they can like threes. I typically do that myself. So they actually give them the opportunity to choose
Absolutely.
different ones, and then also can get rates differently or shows like that.
Yep.
So the next process would be going out and finally viewing homes and getting to know that part, right?
That's right. So finding homes, it just depends on, I have some very busy clients who are like, hey, just send me, this is what I want. Just send me listings and I will set them up on something automated where they'll get those every day. If they see something they love, they can reach out. Sometimes I am literally driving neighborhoods and looking for homes for my clients. I've even knocked on doors of homes that are not for sale because I know this home is perfect for my buyer, and hey, are you interested in selling? Sometimes they're interested in a for sale by owner or a new build, and I can help with all of those.
Yeah, it's really great when you start to get to that process where you actually can find that area, kind of know that area, and then the price point, so you can really narrow down into that. So let's say you're out and you find a house with your client. What is one of the things they really should probably have with them so you can go ahead and maybe start to make an offer on that home? Should they bring like a checkbook or anything else with them?
Well, so there's always going to be, typically, people will submit earnest money, which is it shows a good faith offer. Earnest money is money that will credit back to you at closing. However, I don't necessarily say drive with a checkbook. We can pay earnest money online. However, do be pre-approved. That's just so important because if you see what you love, we can electronically write up those documents, send it to you right away, get signatures. But the reason the buyer consultation is so important is I want you to understand the full process and feel comfortable with that. So when we're ready to write, you know exactly what to expect.
Yes, definitely. And so that next step would be making that offer. What does that step look like?
So writing an offer, so we'll talk to our clients, what is, number one, the price that you want to offer. A lot of factors play into that. How long has the home been on the market? Is it distressed? Is it as is? We as agents, we know how all of that works, and you can trust us to be expert negotiators for you. We have really good strategies for working with multiple offer situations and winning those offers. So we even reach out to sellers, agents, and say, hey, what is most important to your seller so that if this is the home, this is their dream home and they must have it, we can write the perfect offer in order for them to win it and close on that property.
Yeah, so that would be the next step, is actually doing the negotiation part and reaching out and doing that agreement. So kind of a little bit of that, what does that go entail to? Like reaching out to the other agents and then just kind of asking them, maybe some other questions about, have they had multiple offers already or...
Yeah, absolutely. We want to kind of pick their brains and understand the situation we're in so we can construct the best offer. This is why it's really important for buyers to have agency with their agent as well. When we have agency, we have the responsibility of keeping our clients' information private, but also disclosing to them any information that we can get on the property. If we don't have agency, we are not allowed to speak to all that kind of private, undisclosed information. So that's why it's really important to have agency with your client or with your agent.
That's right. That's right. So then the next part, so let's say they receive the contract and they accept it. So what is the next step that you're going to go through?
So, hopefully the sellers will say, yes, we love it and agree to it. However, they have the option of, no, we do not like your offer. Yes, we love your offer, or they can counter on that offer. And so hopefully if they don't love the offer, they will at least counter so we can negotiate back and forth. So at that point, it could be a negotiation process to get both sides to an agreement.
That's right. That's right. And so now we've gone to agreement. They've accepted your offer. What's the next step we would take? It would be going into a home inspection, correct?
Absolutely. So even if a home is being sold as is, I still encourage do some sort of inspection just so you know what you're dealing with. I would say a good portion of the homes on the market are not being sold as is. So the buyer, in this case, in the state of Alabama, which is considered a caveat emptor state, which means buyer beware, which sounds scary, but it's really not. It just means that all the discovery of the home, the inspections are on the buyer. So the buyer can do any and all inspections that they want to do within their time frame, which is typically about 10 business days. I would definitely recommend a general home inspection, but you could go further. You can do an HVAC inspection, a roof inspection, a pool inspection, a septic. It is your time to fully discover the deficiencies of the home if there are any. And so once we receive all of those reports back, we're going to put together a request for repairs. And so without getting too deep into what the contract states, there are some very specific guidelines as to what we're going to be able to ask for. Heating and cooling, plumbing, electrical, built-in appliances, septic system. So we will kind of focus on that, the main systems of the home, and then we will construct a request for repairs. At that point, we get that over to the other party, and that seller has the ability to essentially counter us. If they want to, they can accept it or they can counter us. But again, we're at another negotiation period with that.
And how long does that process usually take?
So you typically will have a 10 business day inspection period. A lot of times people get that done within a week, but they will have 3 business days to get that request for repairs to the other agent. And then that agent will have 3 business days to respond. And so hopefully we can get that all worked out fairly quickly.
And then I think the last part of that process is the 2 days for the response.
Yeah, a lot of times
back and forth.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then so the next part would be going through title and insurance, correct?
That's right. There are a few other things, which I know you're going to ask me, but I'm going to go ahead and throw them in here. Okay. Yeah. So if you are dealing with a finance sales contract, if your purchaser is using a lender, the lender is going to require a few things. Number one is going to be the appraisal. So the lender doesn't want to lend a dime over what the home is worth. So they're going to order an appraiser to come out and appraise the property. That appraiser is going to look at other properties that are very similar. We call those comps or comparables. They're going to look at homes that have sold recently that are really similar to this house to decide what the actual value of the home is. So for example, if you've offered $400,000 on the home and the appraisal comes in at $410,000, great, perfect. You've got a little extra equity in your home. If that appraisal comes back at $390,000, we are probably going to have a little bit of renegotiation. I find, and probably you do too, a lot of sellers at that point, not all, but a lot are like, okay, we will come down to $390,000 at that point. But not always. So, it is possible for a buyer to agree to bring extra money, to cover that difference between the appraised value and the purchase price. So that is something the lender is going to require. And the other thing is going to be a Alabama wood infestation report. We call that a termite letter. We call a termite person out there, and they are someone who's certified. I won't name companies, but you know what I'm talking about. And they come out and they are going to do a thorough inspection on the property. They're looking for current and previous termite damage. They're looking for maybe water intrusion, anything that could be affecting the wood in the property. So they will issue a report usually very quickly. And then if there are issues, we may have to do, again, some renegotiation. However, I would say 90 to 95% of sellers are fine with going ahead and doing those repairs and moving forward.
That's very good. Yeah, because that is one of the steps, the process in there. And then, of course, we have the title insurance, and then title company would be the next step that would go right behind that, or kind of fall hand in hand with that one. How does that process what usually happens during that process?
So once we are ratified under contract, we're going to choose a closing company. We're going to hand all the documents over to the closing company, and they're going to work on pulling the title. They're going to look for a clear title with no liens on the title, on the property, and just make sure it's a clean title and it's going to be able to be transferred. They're also going to set up title insurance for that buyer. And so, we love Alabama Closing and Title. We recommend them. We work with them very closely. Of course, there are a lot of fantastic closing attorneys in town, but they do all that work behind the scenes to make sure when the closing happens, it's a clean title. Not only that, they're working with the lender to make sure all the lender paperwork is properly filled out and that loan goes through properly.
So then also a part of that step process could be a home protection plan. Do you know anything a little bit, or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, one of our Gold Star vendors is 210 Home Warranty, and they're fabulous. In fact, we offer Weichert. If you list with your home with Weichert, we will put a free 210 home warranty on your property during the listing period. You are not required to pay a dime unless you want to use it. Typically, there'll be like a $100 call out fee, and then a plumber will come, for example, and they can fix any of the plumbing problems. But that has worked out very well for some of my sellers before, who they have received a request for repairs and they use that warranty to have some of those things fixed. But we love 210 Home Warranty. That is an option for a buyer to purchase on their home, or a buyer could ask a seller to purchase that for them if that's part of the contract. And then typically that is just a 1-year home warranty. And it, with any warranties or insurances, there's always fine print, but a good portion of things are covered by home warranties, and they can really save you.
At a lot less cost than buying a normal contractor when it comes to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then so the next process of that would be finally getting to the last part of the closing statements and finalizing all of the contract on it and getting our settlement statements in, correct?
Right. So as we get within a couple days of the closing, that buyer, within 3 days of closing, that buyer is going to get an official closing document that's going to tell you exactly how much you need to bring to closing. It's going to have all the numbers on it. We check that very carefully to make sure everything's correct. We would want to schedule a final walkthrough with our client. It usually happens the day before or the day of closing. We are going and double checking to make sure all the repairs have been completed and the home looks to be in the same or better condition than when we saw it originally. Things happen. I had a client whose home flooded over the holidays. They had no idea. It was right before closing. They had no idea. They used our home warranty to help with that, but things do happen. So you want to make, especially if a home is unoccupied, you want to make sure nothing, no flooding, a tree hasn't come through the roof. It's in good condition, because when you do that final, you are saying, yep, I love it, I accept it, and then we are good to go for closing. When we get to the closing table, for buyers who are working with a lender, the majority of that is going to be lender paperwork, but our closing attorneys do an excellent job of explaining everything to our clients, making them feel really comfortable with, when they walk away, they know exactly what they've got. They know how to file their homestead exemption, which is really important, cut your taxes in half. And so our attorneys do a great job going over all that and getting it done for us.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And you also can have your home inspector that did your original home inspection. They also can come through that final walk too, right?
Absolutely. If you had ABC home inspections do your home inspection, they had a list, we requested these repairs, you can have them come back. They will usually come back, I would say typically 50 bucks. It's a little fee, but it's fairly small. They'll come back and they'll re-inspect the things that you had asked to be completed. And so that is excellent as well.
And then the final step is finally just getting to that closing table, and everybody's...
Yeah, they get their keys and the garage door openers. We give them a little gift and they walk away, and then the hard stuff, they gotta deal with the move.
Yes, that's the biggest part.
Yes.
That's the biggest part. Well, thank you so much for joining us today at our Yellow Chair Chat. We hope this is very informative, and we will have several more of these to come up. Thank you, Kelly, again for joining us. I'm Alex Mullins, your host of Yellow Chair Chat, and Kelly Holder, my special guest, and we thank you again. And if you're looking for any properties in the Rocket City, please let us know. Have a great day.